Las cosas que necesito en la vida ya están aquí. Las cosas que necesito en la vida ya están aquí. I am free, free as a bird now, with my feathered wings. I am free, free as a bird now, with my feathered wings.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Camino Cafe podcast. I'm thrilled that you decided to join us this evening. I'm coming to you live from Santiago tonight, and it's a beautiful night. The weather has been gorgeous this week, and I'm really enjoying getting to see all the things here in Santiago, as all of you know that have walked. And for all of you that have not yet walked, just wait. It is a beautiful city. There's so much to see, and it is really a special place. So just a reminder to everyone, if you haven't ever walked, plan to stay a few extra days if you can in Santiago. I think it's really worth the time. So tonight I have a very special interview. As you guys all know, Warriors on the Way is a very special program that I support. And we have interviewed Father Stephen Rondell several times, I think at this point. I'm always asking him to come on. And tonight we are very lucky to have one of the professionals that accompany him, Dr. Renee Phillips. And Renee has been walking with them. And I don't know the whole story. I'm kind of saving that for the interview. So we're all going to get to know about Dr. Renee, but Father Stephen talks so highly of her, and I know that she is an essential part of the program's success, and I'm really excited to talk to her about her own Camino experiences, as well as the experience in supporting the warriors that get to go on the Camino. So Dr. Renee, welcome. I'm so happy to have you here at the Camino Cafe.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Now, where are you in the world right now? You're in the US, I think, somewhere, yes?
Yes. So I live in Dallas, Texas, and I live here with my husband and then my two kids.
Okay, excellent. All right. So let's just start with, I guess, the most simple question is, tell us about, how did you first hear about the Camino? How did the Camino come into your life?
Sure. So I think I was in graduate school. This must have been back in about 2003. And I was at my boyfriend, now my husband's apartment, and he had a book on his bookshelf. It was about the Camino in Santiago. And I'm sure it was probably the book by Paulo Coelho. And I looked at it and I said, well, what is this? And so he told me all about the Camino, and it was something that he had wanted to do. And I heard about it and I was like, I want to do that. That is going on my bucket list. And so it's something that's always been on my mind, and something I've always wanted to accomplish. And then life kind of happened. I went through grad school, got married, and then it kind of popped up magically, as it sometimes does. So in 2019, I had resigned from my job at that time, which I loved, but had some health stuff come up and wanted to spend more time with my kids. And I was working for a private school, so I had the summer free, and I get this call from my sister, and my sister is a psychologist for the military, and she knows Father Steve, and she had gone on the Warriors on the Way trip on the first trip that they had done.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
She said, and I'd heard all about it. I'd heard what a great experience it had been. And she said, I can't go this year, and they need someone, and I thought of you. And she said, would you be interested in going? And I was immediately like, that sounds amazing. And then I thought, oh no, I'm not in shape.
As we all do.
I thought of all of these things, and then I just said, yes, I would love to. And so then I got put into contact with Father Steve, and things just kind of took off from there. So
excellent. So both you and your sister are psychologists?
Yes, we are.
Wow.
Yes.
So cool. Okay, so you get this call, you've heard of it, it's been in the back of your mind, and you get this opportunity. And so did you walk then that fall of 2019?
So I walked in that first trip in fall of 2019, and then walked in 2021 as well.
Excellent.
Yeah, so 2 Caminos with warriors on the way.
Wow. Okay. So let's start with, you're going with this group and you're going in a supporting role, but let's not forget you actually also have to walk.
Yes.
So as somebody who wants to eventually lead tours on the Camino, I'm very curious. Let's start with, you guys typically start right around Astorga. Is that where? Okay.
Yes, that's right.
All right. So was this your first trip to Spain?
No, so when I was in college, I studied abroad, and lived in London. And then at the end of that, I had backpacked Europe for about 6 weeks. So I had been to southern Spain for a little period of time, but I've never been in this part of Spain before.
All right. And do you speak Spanish?
No.
Okay. All right.
I do not.
So you show up in Astorga, you've seen this Camino book. I'm sure your sister's told you some things or whatever, but what was that first day like of walking from a personal perspective? Because, it's very doable, but there's still a challenge always with the walk, I feel. But tell me what was going through your mind on a personal level that first day.
I think I was just trying to take it all in. I mean, it's difficult sometimes to articulate to others what the Camino is like if you haven't been on it. And so, I mean, some things are immediate to you and you're like, well, wow, I'm finally disconnected from the rest of the world and it feels really good. And then like the scenery is beautiful. And then you start walking and you're like, can I do this? Like I've trained, but is this going to be what it's like? I mean, I think there's a lot of questions that are initially come up as you start your journey. And especially then as that leadership role, I was thinking like, am I going to be able to walk with everyone, and keep up? But I think that initial day, I'm just kind of trying to take everything in and then trying to get into the routine of everything in the groove. But then just also trying to just take in, I guess, each moment as it comes and the beauty of everything that's around you. So.
And I'm sure, even though we all try to put our expectations aside, they're still there. What was different than what you expected?
There are a few things. So I did not expect the sense of camaraderie that you experience on the Camino. I mean, it's as small as people just saying "Buen Camino" as they pass by you. I mean, it seems like everyone is friendly. Everyone is really there for the pilgrims. I mean, I really say that the Camino caters to the pilgrims. It always provides what you need, maybe not what you want, but what you need. There's always people around to help you. And it's difficult, I think, to explain that fully or to even compare it to something else, because there's few things in life where you have such a shared sense of camaraderie or a shared goal or purpose, and you're encountering something that's physical, spiritual, and emotional. So it kind of covers all of those things. So that definitely hit me from the very beginning, just that sense of shared purpose and camaraderie with everyone. I mean, everyone really that you pass by. That was probably the number one thing.
Okay. So you've done two trips with the Warriors, both fall of 2019 and then again just recently. So tell us a little bit about how that's set up. Typically, how many veterans are in the group and how are they selected? So
Father Steve goes through the applications, and they are combat veterans who have a diagnosis of PTSD or have moral injury. And they apply. He goes through the process of selecting them. And then there's typically about, I'd say 8 or 9 that are selected, and then we are usually connected in some way, and we kind of cheer each other on as we're trying to prepare, with hiking, and how much did you hike today, and how does this sound, and what kind of hiking boots should I get, and just ask. A lot of times they'll just ask questions to kind of get a sense of what's gonna happen, and then we actually meet for the first time the night before we leave San Antonio, and we have a dinner together. And everybody introduces themselves and just says a little bit about themselves. And it's a great way to start that journey. And then everything is taken care of for the vets on the trip. Everything, I mean, all their basic needs, from lodging to, in the albergues to their food and their meals. And everything is very intentional and purposeful in that trip. From how we start our mornings and the routine of it, when we start with mass, and then Father Steve will usually have something that he wants us to reflect on or to think about. And so we kind of go through the day. I mean, but even things like our packs have our water bottles on the side. And he'll say, one of the reasons why, it's that I have them on the side is it's hard for you to reach it yourself. So you have to ask for a friend to help you out. And that's very intentional because we are not always good at asking for help or for support. So in order to drink, you've got to ask someone, to help you out. Even to the mileage that we walk, it's 180 miles. And Father Steve will say, it's at half a 360, like we're doing a turn. That it's going in a different direction in life and a new way of healing. So everything is just very intentional, which I love. And I think that makes a big difference for the vets.
Wow, that's very interesting. He's never shared that part with me. I'm just thinking about my last Camino, the same thing. Our water bottles were on the side, and I can remember walking with a certain pilgrim for a couple of days, and we would always have to stop and help each other. So it was like, the other one would get a drink if one of us got a drink. So that's great.
Yeah.
So the first time that I heard of Warriors on the Way, I'm sorry, I was unfamiliar really with the term moral injury. So I wonder if you could just, and maybe there are other listeners and our viewers who might also not be familiar with that term. Can you give us an idea of what that means and what that includes? I mean, I think everyone's familiar with post-traumatic stress syndrome, but moral injury I'm not as familiar with.
Yeah, so moral injury is really the cognitive or emotional response that can occur following events that violate a person's moral or ethical code. And PTSD is more fear-based, and moral injury or MI is more of a guilt response or guilt-based. And so there's a lot of overlap between PTSD and moral injury, but they are different, and what drives them can be different. And so they're treated in a different way. And that's why having both the psychological and the spiritual facets and professionals on the trip makes such a difference. Steve can speak to things that I can't speak to. That's really his area of expertise. And the Camino speaks to that in ways which are hard to describe, and then having me as the psychological professional is more for the PTSD. So,
okay. All right. Thank you for that. We'll come back to that here in a moment. I just wanted to go back, and you had mentioned that for the veterans that are selected, they apply for the program, and then Father Stephen interviews them. But if they're selected to go, then from donors, from people that have contributed to the program, that's how all of their expenses are covered, right? And Father Stephen has talked about, they get a backpack, everything basically. So it's a really big deal to be selected for this and to have this opportunity for healing.
Yes, everything is covered. They don't have to worry about anything. They just will purchase the clothes that they're going to take on the trip, and their hiking boots, and that's it. Everything will be covered for them. And yes, it is all through donors and generous people who pay for that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for you as a professional on this trip, are you there as people are, just coming to you and asking for help, or are there planned sessions that you're holding as you're walking? What's that like?
So I, as a psychologist, don't provide treatment per se, but I do help with resources. But there's a natural flow to that. So I always say to them that what I do is walk and talk. I get to walk and talk with you. And as a psychologist, as a therapist, one of the best things, it's such a privilege and honor for me, is to walk with people through difficult parts of their life, or for things that are tough and difficult for them, to really go through the valleys and the highs too. But so being able to literally walk with people while talking is really an honor for me. And I'll walk with different people on different days. It just naturally happens. And they'll talk about everything from just their families and their jobs and what's going on for them at home currently to things that have happened in combat. I mean, it can really just be a variety of things, but that conversation really happens organically.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And I also, the first year that I went on Camino, I had the privilege of walking with a therapist as well.
Oh,
and
really?
I wonder, she talked a little bit about just feeling that walking a pilgrimage is kind of like several years of therapy.
Yeah.
That just the act of walking. So I wonder if you could speak to that. What is it? We both know there's so much magic spiritually and so many things going on with the Camino, but what is it in your professional opinion that makes walking something that helps us process things that are going on with us?
Right. There's a quote that I read before I went on my first Camino, and it is solved by walking. And I've always loved that quote. I think that when you do something physical, it breaks down a lot of barriers, and it kind of creates this vulnerability, especially when you're tired and you're having to power through certain things. But it also creates this space where you can reflect and you can kind of work through things. It's hard to avoid certain things or escape certain things, or be distracted by things around you when you're walking. So you are really left with your own thoughts sometimes, and your own memories and what you're trying to work through, whether that's thinking about the past or you're thinking about the future. I mean, I often feel like when I meet people in the Camino, they're in a transitional period of their life often, whether they've gone through a divorce or they're experiencing grief or someone has died, or they're searching for what's next. So many people are searching for something. And so I feel like walking kind of provides that. It's a different kind of work when you add the physical to the cognitive part of working through something. It just seems to reach a point of vulnerability and speed things along, I find.
Yeah. I'm curious if you have a take on what helps us as pilgrims to open up to people. Like, I've often thought, is it because it's kind of that theory of when you're driving in a car with children and they tend to open up and talk a little bit more because they're in the back seat, and the parents in the front seat, and you're not face to face looking at one another. And so I've always wondered, is the walking side by side maybe helpful in that as well? Or do you have other theories about what helps us feel so comfortable as pilgrims to share our stories on the Camino?
Yeah, I think part of it is you're in a new environment. It's most likely somewhat new, or it's not somebody else's own space. So you're in this shared environment that is new. And oftentimes you don't know the people around you, but it's amazing how quickly those relationships developed and how quickly you get to know somebody else. But I think when you are with someone else who doesn't have expectations about you or is not judging you, and you're just openly talking about yourself or something you've gone through, it seems to be there's more acceptance, or you feel that there's more acceptance from that person. It's just easier to have conversations that are difficult. It's kind of new territory. I think that's the new environment, and then just new people who don't know your history and don't know about you. It just, and there's that kind of camaraderie and shared purpose. Everyone is going towards the same goal, and you're kind of working together.
Yeah. Okay. So now you have another program planned, and this will be is this in spring coming up?
This will be, we have one in the fall of the fall of this year.
So, okay, so fall of 2022. So you're taking applications right now for that, I think Father Stephen said, right? So
Yes.
If somebody is interested, what would they need to do if they themselves are interested, or they have maybe a friend or a relative that is interested in finding out more about the trip?
Yeah, if they go to the website warriorsontheway.org, they can find information about Warriors on the Way, and then how to contact Father Steve, and then apply. And he'll take it from there and help guide them and give them information that they would need.
Okay, and I'll make sure to have those links in our show notes so folks can follow that.
Yeah.
So I think the first or second day you arrive at Cruz de Ferro, and Father Stephen has his own incredible story about that, which if you haven't seen his interviews, please go back and watch them, because he has been interviewed and has talked about his own personal journey on his first Camino, as well as working for Warriors on the Way and starting Warriors on the Way. So I wonder if you could share with us maybe your experience. Let's start with just that personal experience of arriving at Cruz de Ferro, and then we'll go into maybe a larger picture of walking in with a group.
Yeah, so Father Steve has us, me included, carry a rock around, a small rock, for a few weeks prior to our departure. And that rock is supposed to be a burden that we name, or something that we want to let go of. And so we carry that rock, we feel the weight of that rock, we think about what it symbolizes, and then we bring it with us. And then, as we go through, then we leave it at the foot of Cruz de Ferro, at the cross, in that morning. And we have a mass first, and we pray for what we want to, our intention, what we want to let go. If we want to, we can share that. And so I love having something tangible, having an emotion or thought become tangible, and then just the act of being able to let it go is very symbolic to me. And both of my experiences from each pilgrimage were a little different. Where I was in life in my first pilgrimage, I was in a kind of time in my life where I needed to recharge and rest. I didn't quite know what I needed. And then in the second pilgrimage, I had thought about the Cruz de Ferro because I really love it. It's very meaningful to me, and it's really meaningful to other people. And I ended up asking two of my friends. One was a priest who always wanted to go on the Camino, but has cancer and hasn't been able to go. So this friend, and then another friend who has a daughter who has cancer. And I said, I'm going to Cruz de Ferro. I explained it. I said, can I take a rock for you? Do you have a rock? And they both had these particular rocks that they gave me. So I was able to take those for them and then deliver that to the cross. And it was so meaningful. It was meaningful to them, but it was so meaningful for me, because it was unique to actually have somebody's burdens in a physical manner, to really carry that weight, and then to give them up. It was just a very different experience for me. So personally, I love that. I think there's so much meaning behind that, and really letting go, and the power of letting go. But also, and Father Steve will talk about the are you to a point where you're ready to let it go? Sometimes people have a hard time letting go of something they really want to, because then what does that mean? What's next? Right. So from a personal perspective, I've always thought that was a great way to start the trip. And it's a great way to kind of, in a way, just clear your mind and have a weight lifted off you. Professionally, it was amazing to see members in my group say, I feel so much lighter. I feel so much better. I didn't even know I was carrying that weight around. I didn't realize how much that burden was impacting me. And it's remarkable, really. And it's interesting how much they'll be surprised by that. Often moved to tears by it. But even the people that I would see around me that I didn't know, I mean, how meaningful that was to them when they're there. So, yeah.
What do you think, from a psychological perspective, why is it we want to hold on to that thing that is really hurting us? Why is it so hard for us to just set that burden down?
Yeah, I think that sometimes that burden is known to us. And if we were to let that burden go, what would that mean? What would life look like? What would fill that space? It's kind of like sometimes the devil you know versus the devil you don't. Like, how do you move forward? I think that a lot of times that unknown is scary. And I always say that predictability decreases anxiety. So if you don't really know what's next, or don't really know what will take the place of that, which might sound strange, but if you really consider it in your own life, it's I mean, sometimes those things that are hard are just known to you. So I think that's why it's sometimes hard to let go.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I can't even imagine how special that morning must be, having mass right there at Cruz de Ferro and hearing Father Stephen give mass, and then, you know, very ceremoniously laying those stones down. It must be just a tremendous emotional moment for everyone involved.
Yeah.
Because now you've spent a little time together as a group. And so you're watching each other, you're laying down your own stones. It really sounds incredible.
It is. It really is.
What would you say then is the next special moment? Because you've still got a lot of miles to go after Cruz de Ferro.
Yeah.
You know, when you look over the past two journeys, we've been accompanying these groups. Have there been other pivotal points along the path where you're like, yeah, right, I didn't expect that, or, you know, this is you kind of know when you're getting close to it?
Right. I think for me personally, it's not necessarily been these like epiphanies or aha moments, but it's been little things along the way. It's seeing acts of goodness along the way that just naturally unfold, or it's seeing particular churches that I really love that just make me reflect or think about things. It's the little things. Or there's a church in Palos Terre that has a crucifix, and it's on the wall, and the hand of the crucifix is missing. And on the bottom it says, "Tu eres su mano," so you are his hand. And that's so meaningful to me. I'm like, this is what it's about, you know, that we are instruments. We are, you know, here to help other people. And I feel like, you know, the Camino is such a metaphor for life in so many ways. And it's just those little moments along the Camino that create this journey. And though we're all trying to get to Santiago, and we all want to get there and celebrate, I think when you get to Santiago and you have your moment and you go in that beautiful cathedral, I mean, church, and it's amazing. But then when you think back and look back, you're like, well, it's really the journey. That was what changed us. That's what, you know, that's what provided the healing. And so for me, it was those little moments along the way. And I think that's different for everybody. I think for some people, it's the little moments. For some people, it's an epiphany. You know, it's a big moment along the way. But for me, there were just so many little things that all added up.
I'm curious, Dr. Renee, what did that feel like that first year walking through that tunnel, knowing that your group's going to come through that tunnel, make that left-hand turn, and see the cathedral for the first time? What did that feel like for you as the accompanying therapist and, you know, kind of, you know, being a group leader? What was that moment like for you?
I think there was just such anticipation and excitement. And it was new to, I mean, all the vets and to myself. And so, you know, not quite knowing what to expect, but knowing we were there and all this hard work and it's paid off. And it was just exciting. I feel like that second Camino, I was excited in a different way. So I had done it again. I was, you know, so happy and joyful about that. But I was so excited for them to experience what that was like. It's kind of like when you have children and you get such satisfaction out of watching their joy. And so watching them have that experience and then just talk about it was just very meaningful. Yeah.
What did it feel like to you that first year? You know, you had not been, I'm assuming you'd never been in the square or been to Santiago.
No.
You made that left-hand turn coming out of the tunnel.
Right.
What did that feel like for you personally?
It was very humbling, and just awe-inspiring. I mean, the cathedral is beautiful. I mean, it really kind of brings you to your knees. I mean, and you think about all the pilgrims who have gone there before you. I mean, all the footsteps that you've been walking, you know, in, and then to finally get there and, you know, to thank St. James, it's just very humbling and awe-inspiring, to be in such a place. And also a little sad because you're thinking, oh, well, now my Camino's over, you know, I have
Right.
to go again. When am I going next?
Yeah. What now? When can I get back?
Yeah.
So for folks that are listening to this who would maybe be thinking about going on this next journey in fall of this year, you know, they're hearing about, say, pilgrimage and walking and distant, you know, what could they expect? What's a typical day? Like, how many miles are you walking, or how many kilometers is the group walking on a regular basis, and for how many days?
Yeah, so we did about 15 to 19, I think, miles a day. Some were a little shorter, some were a little longer. Father Steve has us usually like keep a certain pace, and we leave early in the morning, especially to stay out of the sun. But it really, I mean, you notice that people kind of go at their own pace. So some people just want to get to the next destination. They push through the whole day. Other people will maybe go to slower pace or stop for vino or sangria, you know, and take it kind of however they're comfortable. So I feel like there's many ways to do it, just depending on what kind of what's best for you. You know, we carry our packs. We are limited to 18 pounds. Father Steve's very specific on that, just because it's that intentionality. It's what do you really need? You know, what do you really need on this trip? So, but other people will sometimes, you know, have their bags, you know, carried ahead. So I feel like there's a way for everybody to be able to do the trip in their own time and however is best for them.
Okay, yeah, you know, I've never spoken to Father Stephen about that. So people can, if they don't feel that they want to carry their bag, they can have it sent ahead. So if that feels like something that maybe their bodies aren't prepared to do, they wouldn't necessarily have to carry the backpack each day. And did I hear that correctly?
Usually we try. We try, just because we've tried to train with the weight, but if for some reason somebody's back hurts or there's an issue, then yes, I mean, that's going to be changed for sure. Yeah. Okay. Because you never know what's going to happen on Camino.
Very true. And so as far as the mileage, well, as they're walking, do the folks have to stay with the group? Or, you know, if somebody wants to kind of walk on by themselves, maybe they need some private processing time, they can go a little bit ahead or fall a little bit behind, or does the group stay together the whole time?
So for the most part, we try to stay together. There might be like a group of 3 that walk just a little bit ahead if the group behind, but for the most part, we kind of really all try to stay together so everybody can talk, and then you can kind of change groups as you need or want. Yeah, so most of the time we're kind of all together. I mean, but there are certain times, especially like on the way to Cruz de Ferro, where Father Steve will say, you know, as we walk up there, let's all reflect and let's have like some silence, so that you have your personal time to walk and be left alone with your thoughts. So it just kind of depends what you need. Yeah.
What would you say, Dr. Renee, when you're looking at the 2 groups that you've gone on, that you felt, wow, this was kind of a challenge for people maybe in the beginning, but they really overcame these typical challenges, and you knew in your heart when you were seeing it happening to them the first or second day that you knew that they were going to get over it? Like, can you give us an example of maybe what seems like a challenge at the start, but you can overcome it?
I feel like the challenges that come up, I mean, I think there's a lot of physical challenges, just working through that. Because I feel like the emotional challenges or the spiritual challenges are worked through, and that seems to kind of work kind of smoothly. But those physical challenges can really alter things. I mean, who knew that blisters could be such a problem? But what's great is that, so we usually have at least 2 nurses or medics on the trip. And everybody's always helping one another. So, they're bandaging people's feet or helping in whatever way they can provide support. So I feel like they begin to rely on each other more and more, and you see the group become more cohesive and to support one another and to rely on one another more. And that just happens naturally over that 2-week period. Yeah, it's kind of what comes to mind.
Yeah, well, that's a real advantage. I never thought about the fact that you would have medics with you, trained people that know what to do out on the field. I mean, that's really a nice thing to have in your Pilgrim family, right?
Right.
So I know that you can't really share someone's personal story per se, but I wonder if you could just kind of give us an idea of if somebody's maybe on the fence about applying and they're not really sure. Could you give us an idea of maybe some healing that you have personally seen, or if that's too detailed, maybe, why do you professionally think that this is just such a profound experience that can provide healing for our veterans?
Yeah. I said it once before, but I really feel like there is no other place like the Camino. I have not experienced another place like the Camino. It is definitely every sense of the word pilgrimage. I mean, it is a journey. And while people do it for many different reasons, again, I think that most people are in search of something, or they're trying to understand something, or they're wanting something in their life. There's not many places where you can go and walk and then be disconnected from the world around you, and honestly take a break in some ways from the distractions and the kind of daily responsibilities and these things that clutter our lives. I feel like it is an opportunity where you have kind of one goal, a physical goal that you're trying to work towards, but it provides you with a mental space to work through things. And then you can do it however you like. So you can walk alone, but you're never really alone. And you have other people who are there with you, who are there to support you if you want, but who are really in that shared journey with you. I feel like it's so hard in our day and age to find mental space and time and a place where you can really get away. And I feel like the Camino offers that. And I feel like I've seen it in our veterans who have done this trip. Like they just talk about the healing that they've experienced and the reduction in PTSD symptoms, and how they feel like this journey that they've undertaken has really led to their own personal growth. And how helpful that's been to them.
Could you give us just maybe some, I guess, maybe summarize for us, why or what things do they say that show you that they are healing some of the symptoms of PTSD or the moral injury?
Yeah, so sometimes we'll talk about like these intrusive thoughts or flashbacks, bad dreams, nightmares. There's that hyper arousal that comes with PTSD, difficulty falling asleep, being like easily startled, feeling on edge or just restless, or sometimes just angry. They talk sometimes about how that will impact not just them personally, but their relationships at home as well. And as the trip goes on, I think one of the things that I have heard the most is that they will start to sleep and it's good sleep and the nightmares decrease. They don't feel on edge anymore. And it's really this safe space where they are taken care of. And they have that structure and that routine, and it just provides healing. But I feel like sleep is, to me, where I feel like I hear it the most, and that restlessness starts to subside.
And I imagine that's got to be so healing, because when we're short on sleep, nothing else seems to work well.
Yeah.
It impacts our entire lives, doesn't it, when we're not sleeping well? So
yeah. I think too, when they're in a group where they're hearing from one another and they're sharing stories, and then they realize like, oh, you're dealing with that too, and they realize they're not alone. I think that's really powerful, because then they talk about, well, what have you done before that's been helpful? I mean, they use each other as a sense of support too, and that's been really helpful.
You say that, and what came to my mind is, when you're in the military, you're kind of on this like team, right? You have other people you're with a lot. And then all of a sudden, when they come out and maybe suffering from PTSD, all of a sudden they're kind of alone in that. And, unless they've maybe had close family members or friends they're still in contact with, it must feel pretty lonely coming out and coming out of the military and feeling like you have this feeling that maybe you can't shake, or some trauma. So that seems like that would be really validating and normalizing, to feel like I'm not alone in this.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of power in that.
Yeah. Wow. It's really profound. I'm wondering for you, I was thinking as you were talking, that there's always that adage that if you really want to learn something, teach it, right? And I'm wondering for you, as one of the co-leaders on this trip, as a trained therapist, and how has it changed you as a professional? And then how has going on Camino with this group, how has it changed you personally?
Those are big questions. Let me think. I've worked with a variety of groups in the past. I've worked in oncology, I've worked in eating disorders in schools. Working with military, and especially in trauma, has been a newer area for me. And I have such respect for our military and what they've been through. I really see it as an honor to be able to go and to help them, to be a resource to them. It just has given me a different perspective for what they have had to endure. And just to be able to walk alongside them has been, personally and professionally, very fulfilling. And it's definitely something that I want to continue doing. I'm so grateful to Father Steve to give me the opportunity to do this. I'm working the trip as a professional, but I definitely don't see it as work. It's really a joy and an honor to be able to be a part of it. But it's just really given me a different perspective on what life is like for them when they return. And just what they have to go through each day, and how combat has changed how the military has changed their lives, and kind of what they have to deal with. So it's nice to be on this journey where I get to be an active part of helping them heal.
Mm-hmm. And do you see anything, like when you come home, does your family see any different side of Dr. Renee? Renee the mom, Renee the wife, or all the other roles that you play in life. Do they see any changes that have happened to you since you've been doing this over the last couple of years?
My husband will always, my husband wants to do the Camino very badly. It will happen, it just hasn't happened yet. But he is always an advocate for me going, because he knows that it recharges me, and that I come back and I, am full of joy and happy, and that there's such intention behind the trip, and then just in the day, and then coming back, trying to keep that intentionality and mindfulness and awareness in your daily life. I think you learn something every time you go. I know I have. I've learned something about myself. It's just such an avenue for personal growth. So yeah, I would definitely say my husband and my kids will notice that. And I've said to my kids, I would love to take them on a trip. I don't know at what age, but I would love for them to experience the Camino as well. So
yeah, I agree. When I see kids getting to experience this or teenagers, I just think, oh, how lucky, to have that at a young age. It would just, I think, be so life-changing for them. Well, I think that we probably have a lot more to talk about, maybe about your personal journey. But today I wanted to focus a little bit more on Warriors on the Way. So I think we'll bring this one to a close. But I will say that I'm looking very forward to meeting your group when you come in fall of 2022. That's really not that far away.
No, it's not.
So if you're watching this or you know of someone that might be interested in going with Dr. Renee and Father Stephen on the next trip, I know everything she said probably is encouraging you to let people know or to apply. So please, I'll have the link in the show notes, but it just sounds like such a great healing opportunity. And we want as many people as possible to have access to this trip. So also, if you're listening to this and you are moved by what Father Stephen and Dr. Renee are doing, you can donate to the program. I know Father Stephen and I have talked about in the past, any amount will help, and if you're a pilgrim, just $5 can make a difference in buying a snack along the way at the cafe. $25 can make a difference in maybe buying a new backpack as they're needing to replace supplies or whatnot. So if you do feel moved that you want to support the great work that they're doing at Warriors on the Way, there's on the website, you will see the link where you can donate and feel like you're helping and a part of their journey, because I think this is just such an amazing thing that came out of Father Stephen's first Camino. So if you haven't watched that interview, this is what happened after he walked. So to me, that's a testament in itself, what a tremendous influence a Camino have on all of us. And I think the stories, Renee, that you've talked about and seeing that healing occurring is just so touching and really, really feels good to be a part of it. So thank you so much, Dr. Renee, for coming and talking tonight about the program, and we so appreciate it. And like I said, I'd love to have you back and talk more about, I'm very interested in psychology. I'm very interested
I would love to.
How all of that plays a part in pilgrimage. So I'd love to have you back to talk more about your own journey and your training and anything about the Camino. I'd love to talk about. So
thank you
so much. And I wanted to give you a chance if there was anything that we haven't talked about that you might want to say before we close.
I just think for people who are wondering, or have always had it in their head, I think I want to do the Camino. I think that there's often things that come up in life that are going to get in the way. It's hard to find the right time to get away, and I can understand that. But try not to let things hold you back. It's an experience that is life-changing, and just can really bring about a lot of understanding, and it's like none other. So I would just really encourage people to try to get it scheduled. So
that's really great to say. I've had a lot of people have said to me, "Oh, I've got young kids. It's hard to get away." And I wonder if maybe just before we close, then, what tips do you have for someone who's got young kids and they have a professional work life? How do you find the time to get away? What was your strategy and being able to do that?
Yeah, I mean, luckily I have a very supportive husband who was willing to take the kids. And it worked out with my job. But, I've thought before, if I wasn't able to get away for that long a period of time, would I then break trips down into smaller portions? Would I do a different route of the Camino instead of the Camino Frances? I think there's different ways to do it. But even doing a piece of the Camino is better than not doing a piece at all. And just getting a taste of it, I think, makes people want to come back for more. And the more people you meet, it's just so interesting. it really fuels the fire. So, if it's a matter of logistics, trying to figure that out. But then if there's also that, I guess, doubt or fear, trying to uncover what that's about too. I feel like for me personally, the most fulfilling things I've ever done, I've had to overcome a little bit of doubt or fear. I've had to push myself out of my comfort zone a little bit. And those, whether it's studying abroad or doing the Camino or taking a particular job, pushing myself out of my comfort zone to making that next step was the best thing I could have done. And I do think about what would I have missed out on if I had not done that. So if it's fear or doubt holding you back, I challenge you to look into that and to try to take that step towards the Camino.
Well said.
Yeah.
Agree. All right, we will stop there. Renee, if you'll just stay on, I'll close out the show. Thank you for everyone for watching tonight. I really appreciate it. And until next time, buen camino.
Buen camino.
Que necesito en la vida ya están aquí. Las cosas que necesito en la vida ya están aquí. I am free, free as a bird now, with my feathered wings. I am free, free as a bird now, with my feathered